Okay, now let's look at the theoretical perspectives about anxiety and looking at OCD and other sort of stress-related disorders. Now remember, with the theoretical perspective, sort of treat it kind of like a set of sunglasses where all theorists will look at a very similar issue, but we'll look at it with a different set of lenses, if you will. And they have alternative ways of explaining it, almost as if you're sort of having people stand around, you know, a very big ball or something of that nature. And in order to see it all, you have to stand in different locations. And that gives you a different perspective. Not necessarily the wrong one, but just different, an alternative one. So that's what these are about. So looking at the different perspectives of how they view anxiety-related disorders. Okay, so let's get started with theories. Psychodynamic theorists view anxiety disorders as attempts by the ego to control the conscious emergence of threatening impulses. Now, feelings of anxiety are warning signals that are like threatening impulses are nearing awareness. And so the ego mobilizes defense mechanisms to divert the impulses, thus leading to different anxiety disorders. Phobic objects symbolize aspects of the unconscious conflicts. You know, for example, the ego mobilizes defense mechanisms to divert the impulses, thus leading to different anxiety disorders. Phobic objects symbolize aspects of unconscious conflicts. For example, displacement. The example in your textbook of little Hans and that story, you can see that in your text. Essentially, the psychodynamic theory considers the unconscious conflict and the largely speculative, it's very speculative, as we cannot test what's in or what's about the unconscious and what it knows and doesn't know as of yet. When we consider the behavioral learning perspective, learning theorists explain anxiety disorder through conditioning and through observational learning. Now, Mauer's two-factor model incorporates classical Pavlov associations along with operant conditioning, relief from anxiety by reinforced avoidance, as an explanation for phobias. Now, the principle of reinforcement may help explain patterns of obsessive compulsive behavior by, prepared conditioning, an evolutionary feature where the tends towards fear of spiders or bunnies or some sort of on a threatening scale. Now, phobias, however, appear to be moderated by cognitive factors such as self-efficacy expectations. And the principles of reinforcement may help to explain patterns of obsessive compulsive behavior, where people may genetically be predisposed. And remember, this is part of the interactionalist perspective in the Diathos model. They may be genetically predisposed to acquire certain types of phobias that may have had a survival value. Now, this is in this particular genre of thinking from our prehistoric ancestors. Now, cognitive factors can also play a big role in anxiety disorders, such as the overprediction of fears, the irrational beliefs, self-efficacy expectations, self-defeating thoughts, and the attribution for panic attacks. Now, cognitive, the focus can be on how dysfunctional patterns of thinking may set the stage for anxiety disorders. Self-defeating thoughts can heighten and perpetuate anxiety disorders. Irrational beliefs may involve exaggerated needs to be approved of or by everyone that they meet, and to avoid any situation in which negative appraisals from others might arise. You can also have it as a part of the cognitive factor, the oversensitivity to threat, where most respond to threats rather adaptively to very adaptively. Others, their alarm mechanisms cause them to be overly responsive. And anxiety sensitivity is, a fear of fear that one's emotions or state of arousal will get out of control or have some other harmful consequences.
Misattributions for panic attacks. The model above suggests that people are prone to panic disorders view certain bodily cues, palpitations and sweating, or external stimuli as threatening or dangerous, either through learning or oversensitivity. And these perceived threats are met with apprehension, which affect the intensity of the bodily sensations like increased heart rate, rapid breathing. This leads to misinterpretation of the signs of panic attack or worse, catastrophe, which further reinforces the perceived threat. The cycle repeats. Therefore, cognitive factors appear to play a key role in the development and the maintenance of anxiety and panic attacks. Perhaps even the solutions in terms of treatment are there.
Biological perspectives sought explanations of anxiety on the basis of studies of genetic factors, neurotransmitters, and the induction of panic by biological means. Now, genetically, twin studies have been very helpful. Higher agreement rates with monozygotic twins than dizygotic twins. The relation between genetic vulnerability and the environment are being explored, how one affects the other. Neurotransmitters, the gamma aminobutyric acid, or GABA, is an inhibitory transmitter, and it helps tone down excessive nervous system from being overly excited. When it doesn't perform adequately, neurons can fire excessively, connected to our sense of anxiety.
Biological aspects of panic disorder. Because of the physical components of panic disorder, it's thought that there may be some biological underpinnings supported by the fact that some people, particularly those prone to panic disorder, that they have a more biological response, like an infusion or a manipulation of CO2, for example. The hyperventilation, which is a manipulation of CO2 levels. A combination of genetics, early childhood experiences, and along with cognitive factors may be strong influences. Biological aspects of OCD, disruptions of the neural network in the brain that signal danger, increased signaling needs immediate attention. Compulsive thoughts and repetitive behavior feel like they're stuck in gear and it cycles. So tying it all together, not all people who experience traumatic events develop related phobias or anxiety reactions. Some people may inherit a genetic predisposition. This is Diathis, the interactionalist model, that makes them respond with greater negative arousal or makes them more likely to panic in response to changes in body sensations. Now, whether anxiety gets out of control may depend on another vulnerability factor, anxiety sensitivity, for example. So I hope this has been helpful, and we'll move into the next chapter, our next part of the chapter, and we'll look at treatments. Keep up the good fight, everybody.